everyone. Welcome to Work Love Wednesday. Samm and Smelter here for Work Love Wednesday. It is time for Work Love Wednesday. Hi, Facebook. Ooh, I'm trying to look. Where is the camera? The camera is here. This is you. Hi, Facebook. It is Work Love Wednesday, and I am happy to be here. Last week, I was radio silent because I was very, very sick. In fact, Wednesday was the peak of it. I could not talk, so I actually had to cancel everything that day. I can't even tell you the last time that I did something like that. I felt awful. And apparently I'm not the only one, because it is going around York County, taking people out, taking voices out, because I've talked to multiple people who speak and teach for a living, and they've had something similar. So yeah, I can talk. I still have a little bit of a froggy voice, so I'm sorry about that, but it's Wednesday. It's 11 a.m. and I wanted to hop on and talk with you about living in alignment, which is something that is really resonating with me this week, has shown up in conversations with my clients, has shown up, here's this really weird kind of caveat. I have not been listening to books on tape, I guess you call that, but it's really books on Audible, which has been usually my go-to. For whatever reason this fall, I have not been traveling yet so far. I should say that because I travel tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Hanover to start a 3-part series there for leadership development, and then starting next week I'll be traveling up to the State College area once a month to do a leadership development series there as well. So my traveling is coming, so maybe there's just a little bit of a delay this fall, but usually I am really into the books on Audible and feel like a superstar because I've read a dozen of them, and I haven't. But I just started actually with a new book, and it's Gabby Bernstein's newest book, A Super Attractor. And I had bought it and was really intrigued by it. And then I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to it on Audible. And wow, I think that people come into the office and they see, even at my home, they see all the books that I own, and they ask me if I've read them all. I've not read them all. I've read a good portion of them, or I've listened to them on Audible. But I'm really a big believer that, of having those books accessible for when you need them, because I feel like when you need that book, and then it's there and it's to serve you. And I got a whole bunch of new books that came in this fall because everyone is releasing them. There's a lot of awesome ones that I can't wait to get to. There was some from last fall that I haven't even gotten to. But Gabby released hers probably about a week ago. And then she made mention of it on Audible. So I actually bought the copy because I like to hold the book. But then I also have been listening to it. But she's, the whole book is about it being this powerful manifester if you believe in the law of attraction. That's a lot of her teachings. She teaches a lot from Abraham Hicks, which is from Esther Hicks, if you follow any of that, which is really embedded in that law of attraction concept. But she's talking about living in alignment and being aligned. And so it's allowed me to really start unpacking how I am best equipping myself to be in alignment. And so a lot of the work that I have been doing is trying to get very clear about my path moving forward, even in a professional context, the work that I want to be doing versus the work that I felt like I had to do. And don't get me wrong, there's always work that we have to do that we don't want to do. But in the grand scheme of things, one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur and building my business is I get to decide in what context, what bucket do I actually live in and service out of. And Mary Rose coming on board here at Leadership Arts Associates is a beautiful example. When Leadership Arts Associates, it was very much a traditional HR consulting firm. At the same time, I was attracting individual coaching clients, which was never something that I was interested in. Even when I did human resource development in a corporate environment, coaching was always something I stayed away from. I had this belief that it was for individuals who have been subject matter experts, maybe have a doctorate, that you had to be this really stellar, high-level professional to coach individuals. And early on, when Leadership Arts Associates opened, my first set of coaching clients really dictated that they wanted to be coached and really pushed me to allow them to be my coaching clients. So kudos to all of them. There's a handful of them, and they know exactly who they are if they're watching this. And they let me develop my coaching methodologies. They let me figure out how I could best be of service in that one-on-one environment, and really started to open up the door for the work that I wanted to do, and that I wanted to focus on individuals. And that not only that, if I'm going to geek out for a minute, I truly believe, my passion is around employee engagement and organizational cultures, but I truly believe that the issue that's happening is that we're not focusing on the individuals, which then presents the next issue of how does one person, an HR department of one, or even a leader of a team of 100 or 50 or even 20, how do I focus and nurture and take care of that individual, knowing that time and resources are very limited. So even if that is the right answer, it still is not a solution. And so that's the arena that I play in. And so when Mary Rose came on board, she was able to take some of that traditional HR consulting piece that is so critical in a business and is so critical to be present for me to do the work that I want to do. And so it really is a complement to each other. And as we've continued down this journey, and she's been here for 2 years now, I've really worked hard to kind of sort through and understand what is my arena of space, and is there space for someone else that should be here and showing up and doing the best that they can do. Because I think that is something that's really important to me, is that we have people that are passionate about what they do, servicing our clients, so that the absolute best is what's happening. I think there's a lot of situations where people are really good at their jobs, but because they're not all in, they're not producing the best work that could happen out there. And so those are discussions that were always kind of happening, because I want to make sure that the best is put out there. So anyways, I say this because that's, I'm in the trenches. That's what I'm really doing. I'm always evaluating my plate of work to understand what I need to hold on to or not hold on to, and what shifts need to occur. And also being mindful that, there's always going to be a fancy new thing that's going to be out there attracting my attention. So, Qigong is fairly new. It came into my life in March, so it hasn't even been a year. I'm really loving it. I'm immersing myself in it, but it's new. So I have to recognize that it's a shiny object and put that in its appropriate context. I can go and enjoy and be very passionate about that shiny object, but is that shiny object going to be the thing forever? And how much am I putting emphasis on that? So going back to this whole concept of living in alignment, one of the biggest things about living in alignment is making sure that you're not functioning from a place of fear or ego, which is really, really difficult. For an entrepreneur, I think fear is really, really hard, because there's not security there. And it's also, being an entrepreneur, you want to take risks. And so deciding to take risks on a fairly frequent, consistent basis lessens the likelihood of security being present. And so there's always this constant state of fear of the unknown. And when we live in alignment with our greater purpose or greater good, we have an undeniable trust that the universe is providing, that everything's going to work out the way that it should, and whatever path we have chosen is the right path, and it's going to take us there. It's really hard to function that way, especially when we're talking about financial resources, or there not being enough time. There's always so much fear that's associated with uncertainty. And to be in true alignment, you have to get to a place where you just 100% trust that uncertainty is fine, and it doesn't matter what comes. it's all what's meant to happen. And so that is a huge struggle for me that I actively have. The other one is ego. And when I was thinking about this, ego, we think of someone who's egotistical or very self-centered, but at the core of it, when we're talking about it in alignment purposes, it's when we feel like we ultimately have control of everything. That there is nothing that is supporting us, that we do everything on our own. And so we can force things into being, but it also creates the stories around self-worth. This is when we don't know if we're good enough. We ask ourselves, who are we to show up and do whatever it is that we're thinking about doing? And ego, when it talks, it is kind of a sabotage. It's a saboteur. And actually this morning, my husband and I were talking about this in relation to money. I have really unhealthy stories around money, and money is a energy currency that is so critical in the manifesting process. So anybody who's big on law of attraction or big on how important it is for the energy and the concept of being paid for your services to keep those energetic flows going, it's critical. But I have this whole story that I'm not good enough to get paid, that I'm not worthy. In fact, I last January attended a workshop with Katie, and I'm going to link her down below. Katie, if you're there, say hey, link your website, because I think you have some workshops coming up. But Katie had us do this exercise where we were working in small groups and everyone wrote things about each other and gave us these little notes. And I wasn't able to experience the whole workshop because unfortunately I had a passing of a friend and I needed to attend a celebration of life service. But I got to get this note, and this note is hanging above my desk. And actually what it is, it's that story written clear as day. Someone who met me for a couple of hours identified that I struggle with my worth and believe that I have nothing really specific to offer the world, and so I should not be compensated for my time. And she called me out on it and said, you're selling yourself short, and I think that you don't realize how much people do need your services. So this is a story that's alive and well for me, and I struggle with it. I struggle with anytime we do pricing of products or services here at Leadership Arts Associates. I think that's the only time that I have this group that comes together to have this grand debate on my pricing. Because, a lot of the guidance out there is do what feels right, what you feel comfortable with. For me, comfortable is free. For me, comfortable is always significantly less than what it should be. And so I need that nudge and that guidance. And I'm very fortunate that I have the support around me to help support that, because I'm still working on it. And it is this cycle that happens. My ego chips in and talking about how I'm not worthy. And then I get afraid, and then I do things to cope with my fear, whether that's recently this past week it was eating Kit Kat bars, which are not good because I'm gluten-free, so I'm going to feel the results of that very, very soon. It's not enough gluten to cause a massive reaction, but it's going to cause a reaction, I guarantee it. In fact, I feel like the back of my neck is getting itchy, and that's probably from Kit Kat bars. But Kit Kat bars, or if it's drinking wine, and I've talked about this heavily in some blog posts, shopping was definitely something that I struggled with, and definitely was a release and coping strategy when I was functioning from a place of fear and ego, and not being in alignment. And then also, not giving priority to the things that allow me to be in alignment. So it's this weird vicious cycle that I know how to break, but then breaking it is so difficult. And I know that I've talked about these things before, but I think that it's so important to just bring it up time and time again. I believe that when we live in alignment, that's when we're functioning at our best, and that's when we're happy. In fact, in Super Attractor by Gabby Bernstein, she talks about when we're living in alignment, it means we're living a life full of love and joy. And for most of us, who doesn't want to be surrounded by people that they love people and be loved, and then on top of that, live a life where we are completely filled with joy. Not these little happy moments, but these pure, full embodied, it's joy. It's just joy. It's this whole elevated version of this word of being happy. And I just think that's everything. And I think that's, trying to undo habits that have been instilled by our ego and by places of fear is some of the hardest work to do. But it's the necessary work if we want to be able to show up and deliver and be of service the way that we were meant to service, the reason why we are given this gift of life. So that's my rant this week for Work Love Wednesday. I hope it served you, and feel free to share any of your thoughts in the comments below. What sparked for you, what struggles you have with living with alignment, what stories does your ego tell you and feed you, when do you find yourself in states of fear? Let us know. Talk to me. If you don't want to leave them in the comments, you can always send me an email, samm@leadershipisart.com. We also, so exciting, have the ability to text our office line too. So if you want to send me a text, feel free to do that, 717-430-2850. I'd love to chat with you. So have a great week.